I grew up in the 80s and the early 90s, and I remember this fascination of like 80s tech, you could call it. I mean, these mechanical, somewhat sci-fi devices that were invented in this era. And I think that my fascination of analog gear sort of stems back from this. I remember from my childhood just my mom's old record amplifier, all these nice buttons, the nice dials, has this tactile, really mechanical feel. I could play with those for hours. And it's the same with my dad's old voice recorder. He has this voice recorder for interviews where you can play back the sound. I could spend hours just pressing the buttons and manipulating the speed of the playback and listening to the tape recorder rewinding is also like a fascination of mine. For me, this nostalgia is very strong when I see devices from the 80s or something. And I think that's when my fascination of camera sort of has roots. It didn't start back then, but it has its roots back then. That is where my fascination of camera stems from, and I know that I'm not alone.
Cameras are like some weird alchemy, something that...
My dad used to film us on a huge video camera in '86.
And I think that should tell you something.
So I clearly remember my first sort of camera crush. I think 2000, or maybe 2001. I was working in this camera store. I knew that I was going to do something with photography, but not really what and how yet. So I learned a lot about film and sort of all this color profiles these different film has. What came out in around 99, 2000, 2001, that was the last sort of batch of cameras that were developed in a world where film was still professional and was still the main thing. And I remember this one camera that was literally sitting on a pedestal in a glass montra in the store, just opposite of the counter where I was selling film from. And it was this Hexar RF. And to me that was just the most beautiful camera I ever saw. And I always thought, that's a camera that I can never afford in my entire life. I can never justify, even if I could afford it, I can never justify buying that camera. Because I just knew already then that the fascination was pure fascination with the device and not really the action of taking photos. I guess that would also be a part, but this was just a fascination with this beautiful being. And to me this is still the most beautiful camera that I have ever seen. I know for a fact that I'm never gonna own this camera because it wouldn't do it justice. I think this fascination of the camera would wear off to some extent. I would find something to get disappointed with, and I like this idea of having this guard camera. So the only Hexar camera that I know of in existence, and it's in the same box that I remember, collector's box, and it's owned by this dentist, or maybe he's a doctor or something, living in Aarhus, burned rich. Yeah, so maybe I should call this guy and ask if I could just have a little bit of a sneak peek on this camera.
The first time I picked up a camera, holding a camera for the first time was like electricity. It was just, you have all of this control and then you have no control all at once, and it is the perfect dichotomy of life.
In my opinion, the Nikon F4 is sort of the pinnacle of this 80s, 90s era of camera tech in a way. Extremely ugly, it's also beautiful because it's designed to be practical, and that's just shines, you just see that. So even though it's hideous looking in many ways, it's still like likable in a way, and I'm really fascinated with this. I remember the first time I picked one up, I knew about it, but I didn't really know of it. I just knew that it was the camera before the F5, and back then in the early 2000s
it was still
new, and that was
sort of thing.
as good as läkningstid.
When I'm in the mood to shoot film and trespass on the program, a good opportunity to talk about the Canon. I've been using this camera something like 2.5 years, yet it's the one I shoot with the most. And I think that should tell you something.
For me, it's generational. My dad used to film us on a huge video camera in '86, and then my granddad left his film camera to my gran before they all passed. Now this and their memories are all we have left of them all. and this means more than any perfect camera.
A friend of mine, she bought this camera with a broken AF motor, but she got it that cheap, and back then it was still really expensive because it wasn't current, but it was still the second most current professional camera in the Nikon range. And I just remember picking it up, being flabbergasted with these awesome dials, this undescribable tough construction. It's a plastic house with an aluminium shell inside. When you pick it up, it does not feel plastic. It feels like a tank. It feels like something you can throw at someone if you're getting robbed, and the camera would probably be untouched. I've never seen an F4 that was like seriously broken. I've seen one being run over by a car, and obviously it's broken, right? But I've never seen these cameras fall apart. They always look like they've been through a war zone or something, and they will survive all of that stuff.
Can I take a picture of you? I'll take it.
I'm not really looking into buying an F5 or F100 because the experience of using those cameras is very much like using a modern DSLR, and I'm looking for something a little bit different, something that takes me into the film era a little bit stronger. I have a lot of old Nikon lenses. It's a mix of AFS lenses, GE lenses, and AIS lenses. And the F4 works with all of this glass. Granted, the GE lenses will only work in shutter priority. That's sort of okay. It's alright compromise in my opinion. Yeah, I'm saying this because I'm trying to get to a point where I'm really recommending this camera because of its value today. You can buy them dirt cheap, even in mint condition. They're all doomed to fail at some point. They have this LCD screen inside of the viewfinder, or actually it's inside of the... I don't know, it's a combination. I think one is in the viewfinder, the other one is in the body. They will bleed at some point.
Can I take a picture of you taking a picture of your hot dog?
And they will fade as well, but that will take longer. But they will bleed and fade, meaning that at some point you will not be able to read the information, and that practically renders the camera not unusable because you can still use it, but you can't read the meter and stuff like that. So if you're shooting manual, you need an external meter or something. But because of that, they're dead cheap. Unfortunately, at the moment you can't get them repaired. I don't know if you ever could get them repaired, the LCDs. Maybe in the future, I could imagine that we could have some 3D printed super high-end tech that would be able to print an LCD screen. I don't know, I'm hoping. But at this point, you can't really repair it. You can only replace the broken parts. So you can only replace the body or the viewfinder, whatever's not working. That's sort of okay as well. But because of this impending doom of all of these F4 bodies, they are super cheap, even the nice ones. And I think that's a good reason to go pick one up if you want to explore film. If you're a DSLR shooter or something and you want to explore film and you want to use all of your lenses still, not having to buy out and buy a new system or a new set of lenses or something, then this camera will enable that for you.
Okay. Jeg er bare ude og tage nogle portrætbilleder som en test. Jeg tester en film. Må jeg tage det dig?
Ja, det må du gerne.
Men må jeg smide dig herover i vandpytten, eller har du mega travlt?
Ja, men det er
okay, fedt.
And it did that for me. So I have to be stupid honest, I bought the F3 as well, the F3T. And in hindsight, I should have just bought the F4 only, because the F3 is like 4 times the price of this camera, and it's nicer to go around with it. It's a little bit smaller, it looks better. But I'm in my 40s now, and like everyone else runs out and buy Harley Davidson or take flying courses or start jumping in parachute shoots. I went out and bought a Nikon F3 and a Nikon F4 because those are cameras that I've always fascinated, especially the F4. This is my 40-year-old brain fart, and I'm not regretting it.
Tusind tak. Hej.